If you're watching after the live, you're probably gonna have to skip forward a little bit. We're gonna wait for some people to hop on. It's a little early. I think it's like 7:30 or something. 7:31. We had some good training yesterday. Dave Morocco came up. He's feeling pretty strong. Yeah, he's got an interesting style. He's got a king's move. Very interesting king's move. But yeah, so this live we're kind of open to talk about whatever. But I'll say this real quick. I'll probably say it multiple times, but there's a pay-per-view on this channel, Stone TV. 9 incredible arm wrestling super matches. It's under memberships. So you have to sign up for the memberships. If for some reason your phone doesn't have the you can't find memberships or a join button, that means that your phone doesn't have the software for membership, so you're gonna have to use a laptop or a computer. What's up, Josh? Josh says, "What's up, Nick? What's up, man? Anything interesting happen in the arm wrestling world since the last time we talked?" I saw there was, I don't know if it's old or not, but I saw there was something in Bulgaria. I mean, it looked like a super match series. But yeah, anything interesting to happen? Is there anything you'd like to talk about for this live? Any arm wrestling topics? Let's see. Josh says, didn't that Greg Sharp show just get done filming? I'm not sure. That's the World Series of Arm Wrestling, isn't that? That might have been yesterday. I think Storm was telling me about it. Brian JW says, hello from Ohio, home of Todd Hutchings. Very true. Josh says, yeah, so the World Series arm wrestling, that's what he's saying yeah to. Yeah, I wonder who won. Let's see. I know New England's was last weekend. I wasn't there, but I know it was a pretty good tournament. I know Chief was there. I don't know if Assassin was there because I think he was at Ronnie Bean, I think. Or maybe he was there. Josh says, I do know Paul Cruz was in it, ? I think. Yeah, I think he's always doing the World Series arm wrestlings. I think he's always in there. He'd probably be a pretty good favorite, depending on who shows up. He's probably a good favorite if he was there. So Brian JW says met Devin in person. I'm 6'3", 220, and I felt small. Well, that's what happens sometimes, you know. He's probably had a little more training, you know. Maybe he's had some more time to train. That's all, you know. So Max Ray says, "Do you ever do that slap competition?" Uh, it's not for me. I do have a strategy though. If it ever comes to it. So if I enter a slap fight, if I go first and I don't knock the guy out on the first shot, I'm gonna forfeit. And then if for some reason that guy goes first, I'll just forfeit. So I figure I never get hit in the face, but I might have like a 25% win rate. You know what I mean? It's a numbers game. You know, it's a numbers game. Um, but I've watched a couple clips of that slab fighting thing. It's not for me, but it's definitely interesting. Josh says, I don't really know much. So much drama. I just stay out of it. Yeah, it's usually better that way. Um, Sometimes it's tricky, you know. I mean, especially if you're on YouTube or social media or something. Uh, there's always something. People trying to clickbait and get views, stuff like that. Max Ray says, good strategy. Yeah, it's a good strategy, you know. Eventually, everyone else will get brain damage, and then you'll be at the top of the food chain with a working brain, you know. But I bet those guys are making more money than arm wrestlers, so they have that. So they have that going for them. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think. But maybe someone in the chat could look that up, see who, what the, the average, well, not the average, but the top slap fighter makes versus the top arm wrestler makes. You know, because I would think both sports are similar, where only the top of the top are getting paid. You know what I mean? Because it's not a super mainstream sport. Max Ray says, I liked and subscribed. Thank you very much, Max. I appreciate that. Definitely helps out. Definitely helps out a lot. Um, let's see. Today's training is supposed to be, well, I've been doing like 3 table times a week and then weights as well. Usually, if I do that many table times, I back off on the weights just a little bit, just for the sake of recovery and not over pushing things. But I felt pretty good the last 3 or 4 weeks, so I've been 3 table times, 2 to 3 real hard heavy weights, and then a bunch of medium and light days. But today I'm supposed to be, it's Sundays usually heavy pronation, heavy elbow flexion, um, riser. I'm just gonna do it's gonna be this similar workout, but the intensity is gonna be like medium. Yeah, it's not gonna be so intense. So Josh says, "Holy shit! I go hard at one practice, and I'm smoked for 2 to 3 weeks." Yeah, it took me. I mean, it's definitely not something that I did overnight. You know, when like it took me at least a year or two to be able to handle that many practices plus weights. So the first thing I did, I would do one hard practice, and then I would go to a second practice and just do, whatever didn't like cause pain or crazy inflammation, because I was still pretty, inflamed up from the last practice. So sometimes it was just, light holds, or sometimes it was just certain positions, or um, if it was really beat up, it would just be like arm wrestling theory. You just talk about stuff if you're so beat up. And then eventually, I was able to train, twice a week. And then I did the same thing with the third. And then now I can. Well, I gotta take a break, a little bit of break today. I'm still gonna train. Like probably it's gonna be more reps, but maybe that's something to try out, Josh. You know what I mean? Try one practice hard, and then next one just go real easy. Maybe do some recovery work on the table, some positions, or even just if you're too beat up, just you could talk theory and stuff like that. So Dask or Maru, if I said that right, said hi. What's up, man? If you liked arm wrestling, you picked the right channel. So Josh says it's been a week since practice, and my thumb still feels it's gassed. I just can't take enough calories. Maybe I read that wrong. Oh, okay. Um, well, how many calories are you eating? I mean, could be there's lots of factors. Could be calories, maybe certain nutritions or certain vitamins are missing or something. Um, well, one thing, are you worried about going up? Like, do you not want to go up a weight class, or do you just want to put on weight, or something? Because that could be something. That could be a factor. Um, I would say maybe start adding if you're having a hard time with getting calories in. Oh, okay. So Josh says I have to eat real clean due to health, major GI issues. So I was just about to say maybe eat some dirtier food, but in that case, go for like dense, super calorie dense foods that are natural. Like you put I don't know how your stomach handles like butter and olive oil and stuff. But if you just start putting a little extra on certain things, like if you have a protein shake, you could put a tablespoon or two of olive oil in there, and that'll be an extra, 100 or 200 calories that doesn't really take up too much space in your stomach. Even like maybe certain types of nuts are high calories that don't take up too much space in your stomach, so that could be something. Um, but yeah, maybe something like that could help. Just keep, like a high calorie snack that your stomach can handle. Just carry it with you all day and just, you know, kind of eat like a graze like a cow. Just eat all day, kind of thing. That if possible. So, Carol, hey, what's up, Carolyn? She says, "Hey, Nick, what's up? And how was the dungeon? I finally got 2 8 feet lengths of 5/16 chain gangs. That's what I'm talking about. The chains. Chains are good. Chains are good. Um, there's a couple different ways to use them. Maybe I'll make a video for um, maybe I'll put it in the members. Maybe I'll put it for the members how to use chains, different ways to use chains. But the dungeon was good. Dave Morocco was there. He's feeling very strong. He's got that interesting sticky kings move. So let's see. Josh says, I can't even eat onions or garlic. No lactose, no gluten, no fruit, high in sugar. I can't have sugar, etc., etc. Well, maybe Can you eat those like nuts or something? Peanut butter, or is that too much? So that's pretty high calorie. So Martinez says, "Speak Spanish, bro." Um, I only speak Spanish to certain places, but not today. Haystack says, oh, lost a little bit. What did we do before all the food allergies? I guess those people just died. I guess, you know. Josh says, I can't even add salt. LOL. That's rough. Salt messes you up. Is it all salts? Any type of salt? Carolyn says, Nick, that would be amazing. Chain gains. I saw you use them as front and side races. That would be wonderful. Members only. Yeah, there's definitely lots of ways to use them. You know, you can kind of use them as free weights, and there's also, you know, like I'm sure you might have heard this. You know, the accommodating resistance. If you watch Todd Hutchings' videos, I'm sure you heard that. That's what the chains were. You know, originally. Well, that's where I originally got the chains from, but they do add a lot of different things. So let's see. Haystacks is 8 and lived. Carolyn says Dave Morocco, that's great. Yeah, he's feeling super strong, you know, well, especially in that Kings move, you know. Josh says sodium, period. Added sodium. That's interesting. That stinks though, but could be worse, I guess. Could be worse. Derek says HLO, hello. I think that's what it means. Carolyn says, let's like and share, friends. I agree. Thank you very much, Carolyn. Brian, what's up, Brian? He says, what's up, Earthlings? The weather here in northern New York. Side pressure is a mofo. LOL. What are you? Best message of really specializing training for this. So side pressure is interesting. There's different types of side pressure. In my opinion, there's like a pivot side pressure. There's like a push side pressure. There's, you know, side pressure with back pressure. But I think the best way to train side pressure is on the table. Um, but I do think you can I think you definitely certain areas are with the, you know, certain angles with weights are excellent too. But I think side pressure you need to build up slow because you're working with muscles, but you're working with, it's a structural, you know, tendon bone structure movement, you know, where the body turns into a unit, you know, versus like when you do like a dumbbell curl, you know, that it's a, you know, the elbow flexor, you know, it's a lot more muscle based. I mean, tendons, bone's still working, but it's a lot more muscle based. So you got to build it up slow. I mean, a lot of people don't know this. Tendons and bones, they do grow. They do hypertrophy. It just takes, it's not like as fast as muscles. I mean, you could put on like grams of muscles, you know, within a day, you could put on grams of muscles versus like doing that with bone or tendon. It takes, I think the slowest is like 6 months before you can actually notice changes, but it's usually longer. But that's what I'd say about side pressure. Let me scroll up. I missed some comments. So Derek says Nic Stone versus Big Show street fight. So we talked about this 2 days ago. My strategy is the same. I'm going to hit him with my car, and then we'll take it from there. So let's see. Carolyn says, Derek, I watched last night the lives from the other day with the hit with the care first OO. I got another one. Hit him with the chain. Oh, now I see. It's the care, not the car, not care. Hit him with the car first. LO. I got another one. Hit him with the chain last in the gym. The chain would probably be. You could do both. Maybe you could put. Wrap the front of the car up with chain. Wrap your whole entire. Front end of the car up with chain and then hit him. Or keep a little bit of chain in your passenger seat in case you ever gotta get out or something. Brian Johnson says, thank you. Last night at our practice, I had no answers to this. Well, I hope it helped. But yeah, hope it helped, and sounds like you're gonna get some good training in. Nathan says, sup, dude? What's up, man? Brian says, my opinion is rising ability is the primary tool to stopping almost any initiation from opponents. Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely you have the most options. From where you can go after. But I do think there are, if you are posting, there are a couple moves that um, that might favor the other moves. But I think it's more rare that it will happen. I think rising is definitely it's a great way to initiate. Derek says, "Come on, bro, change your strategy." Why are we gonna change it? Because it works. It works every time. As long as there's gas in your car and you know where your keys are, it works. Carolyn says, "Nick, LOL." That's a good one. That's a good one. Brian says, "Sorry, I'm texting while phone, but we caught it." Says, "Sorry while texting, multitasking, shitty texting by me, LOL." That's all right. I'm dropping my phone everywhere. Derek says, same thing again and again. Opponent will know your move. I'll tell you what, if they know it's coming, I'll have to get one of those electric cars because you can't hear those things. You can't hear them. So you can sneak up on them. So that's my plan, is once they start figuring out, just switch over to one of those quiet cars. Carolyn agrees. Derek, LOL, if it works, it works. SRI says, hi, buddy. What's up, man? Thanks for watching. Brian says, thank you for your info. Valued. No, I appreciate that, man. Derek says it's like over and over again. It's missionary every day. Well, I'm pretty sure that's how most people live their life. And some people probably don't even get that every day. So Caleb says, Nick, what do you wear for shoes in the gym? I keep separating my sole off my shoe during calf raises on the leg press. You talking about like your foot is making space, or you actually ripping the shoe? But it depends on what I'm lifting. Like right now, today, I'm just probably gonna wear flip flops. Because I'm just doing I'm probably just gonna do a medium lift. When I'm, actually, I've been wearing a lot of flip flops lately. But when I arm wrestle, I usually wear sneakers that you can tie tight. Here's a fun fact for you. When I was powerlifting, when I would squat or deadlift, I would wear Converse. And then, do you guys know that Stickum spray? It's the football player. It's banned now in the NFL, but the NFL used to have the Stickum spray. It was you sprayed on their hands and make them, catch a football without even closing their hand. But what I would do is with the Converse is I actually got this idea from Donnie Thompson. He used to use Loctite, but I use Stickum. You take the Converse, you pull the sole out, so it's just rubber on the bottom. You spray the inside of the shoe with Stickum, and the key is you have to go barefoot with the Converse. Now, this is for squatting and deadlifting. You spray the shoe, go barefoot, skin on the shoe, and it becomes like one. So when you're squatting, there's no, when you move, sometimes you move, your foot will slide in the shoe. With that, there is no sliding, so there's no loss of power, no loss of balance. But yeah, arm wrestling, I wear sneakers, but mostly I wear flip-flops when I'm in the gym. Brian says, damn, side pressure by our new guy. Yeah, the new guys always have side pressure until they get sore, and then they got to learn how to actually arm wrestle. So, Derek says Nic Stone versus Alexei Vovoda. I would definitely pull him. He's looking pretty good. I definitely would probably have the weight advantage, but he would have the experience advantage. But yeah, that'd be a cool match to have. Brian Johnson says, use duct tape on your shoe. The old duct tape trick. Oldest trick in the book. Derek says, Nic Stone versus John Cena street fight. Well, this might be a surprise to you, Derek, but I'm probably going to hit him with the car. And probably twice. When I was a kid, here's a fun fact for you. I used to watch wrestling, and some reason, as a kid, I never liked John Cena as a wrestler. I always rooted against him. When I was a fan of the wrestling as a kid, but I might hit him twice. Twice, but you never know. Brian says duct tape is for any and everything. Ask anyone in Northern New York. Yeah, duct tape is pretty good stuff. You do a whole bunch of stuff with it. I remember back in the day, they would make you make wallets, in the old sweatshops. Back when I was a kid, working in the sweatshops. Wallets for duct tapes. Carolyn says a good sturdy shoe. I hate sneakers. A shoe that can take a beating. Okay, sneakers, Converse. I think she means okay. Thanks, Nick. Stickum spray. Wow. Yeah, that's a little fun fact. I wonder how many other powerlifters do that. Brian says Philly is Raiders. Stickum was crazy in those early NFL's days. I played in those 80s. I think back then I don't know if it was a spray or if it was just a big tub. I wasn't alive, but I've seen some old videos. I think originally Stickum was just a big tub of tacky, and they'd stick their hands in and put it all over their tape and stuff like that, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I think that should be allowed in football. I don't see a problem with it. It probably might make it more exciting, maybe. Carolyn says, wonderful, Nick. Thanks. Converse, no socks. Sounds good. Appreciate it, Nick. Anytime. Brian says, you win. That's funny. Oh, we got another Brian. What's up, Brian? I'll see you soon for the recovery lift. If anyone else is in the Connecticut area, we're going to be doing a lift after this live. Brian Johnson says Cena has no chance. Yeah, plus, I got a pretty heavy car. My car is, I think with me in it, it's like almost 5,000 pounds. Brian Johnson said same, never bought into the Marine. John Cena. Nah, I feel you, man. I feel you. Erez says, hi, bro. What's up, man? Haku is the only wrestler that can stand with Nick. Definitely, that's, if you don't know, that's a compliment. Haku is known for ripping eyeballs out and stuff like that. I think he tried to rip someone's jaw off, but I definitely know he is known for ripping eyeballs out and biting noses off. So, fun fact for you about Haku: eyeballs and noses. He's famous for them. Carolyn Loom says, "You give us the inside scoop, Nick. I love it." Well, I appreciate that. I'm glad you're having fun because I'm having fun too. Brian Johnson says, "Big tub of stickum." You are correct. I wonder what the original ingredient was of stickum. Was it just tacky? Was it just is it just uh like some type of tacky that they sold as stickum? Brian Jones says, I watched WCW. He was called Meng then, and he was badass. Yeah, man, he's definitely a crazy dude. I don't know if you heard about any of his out of the ring fights. I don't know if you ever heard about those, but we could talk about that after practice. There's some crazy stuff. Brian Johnson says, "Take care, everyone. Gotta make way while the sun shines. Pumpkin harvesting and the other chores. Be good, all." I appreciate that, Brian. Have a good day. Good luck with the pumpkins. Josh says, "Well, in baseball, they used pine tar to get a grip on bats." The old pine tar. I definitely. I don't think it might be. At least the stickum I used was not pine tar because you could tell from the smell. I mean, unless it is pine, somehow they can get the pine smell out of it. But yeah, I'm sure the pine tar is more pleasant to be around, a nice pine smell. But yeah, I think baseball is another thing they should, I think they should let those pitchers use, you know, whatever, let them have the old Vaseline ball, the old spitball, because I think it's part of the sport, I think. Brian Jones says they were all scared of him outside the ring. Yeah, I'm sure, man. They're afraid of getting their eyeballs plucked out and their noses bitten off, you know? So I'm sure they were extra careful not to, you know, do anything disrespectful if they had a match with them. Whoops. Gotta scroll up, missing some of these comments. Karen Williams says, Josh, who do you want to have a super match with? Oh, that's a good question. Then she also says, cameraman, cameraman, four-way round robin, question mark? That is a good question. That is a good question. Then Josh says, my camera, ... But it's one way to find out. Brian Jones says, baseball players all make pretty good pullers, bro. Yeah, I think it's from all that throwing. You know what I mean? All that throwing builds up that elbow joint. Um, Enter says, greetings from San Jose, California. What's up, man? I'm doing good. How you doing? Let's see. What time is it? Brian says inside elbow tendon is strong. Plus, usually they have a good hand. Very true. Very true. Um, plus, I think the average. I mean, I don't know what it is in the. I don't know the minor leagues, but I know I think the average height for a baseball player in the pros is I think average height is 6'5". I think if I'm not mistaken. So Enter says I'm doing pretty good, just making coffee. Oh, nice. It's perfect time for coffee. You know, I tried coffee. I never liked it though. But I drink the caffeine, so I get you there. Josh says, I totally forgot all about the elbow pain when I played as a kid and in high school. I always at the start of the season, the damn inner elbow pain. Yeah. Plus, that's all. It's fun though. Baseball was fun. As a kid, I probably had the most fun playing baseball. As like pure fun. Maybe even basketball. But yeah, baseball is a lot of fun. So Enter says, what do you do for a living? I am a strength coach, personal trainer. I also do a little professional arm wrestling. Carolyn says, the smashing great movie out now about Pride and UFC has Brock Lesnar in it. Also smashing true story. Oh, that's interesting. I used to be, I like the old Pride. I didn't watch it. I was too young when it first came out, but I watched a lot of the old fights when I was younger on YouTube. So I think they have all the fights on YouTube. Um, Kevin says baseball is fun. Yeah, it definitely is. Definitely is. um, Enter says what Carolyn does for a living. Oh, we got a question for Carolyn. There's only one way to find out. Maybe she's a secret agent. Brian Jones says Nick versus Dusty Rhodes 1-on-1 half court. Talking about the Dusty Rhodes. He's not alive anymore, right? So if that's the case, I might win that one. But that would be fun. That would be fun. Caitlin says she's in healthcare. All right. And Josh disagrees. She says she builds boats. Maybe she builds boats for the healthcare system. Maybe she builds those giant medic cargo ships. There's only one way to find out. What other arm wrestling topics are there? Um, anything? Anything interesting? Oh, also, let's see what time is it. Brian, if you, I mean, it's 8:10 right now. We said 9 last night, but I might start it's just a recovery workout, so you're not gonna miss anything crazy. But if you're around, I'm probably gonna start early. Um, but if you miss it, it's no big deal because we already said 9 yesterday. Uh, Enter says, I want to travel in a cruise. That could be fun. You got to make sure you pick the right cruise. But and also make sure you can swim. In case worst case scenario, you got to be able to swim for a little bit. So Carolyn says, Nick, when are you thinking next Supermatch series? December or January, or still undecided? So it's still undecided, but I do want to get something. I want to do another one before the year is up, so probably December. But it's not locked in. We got to plan some things out and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, definitely, I definitely do want to do something before this year is over. Um, Josh says the Kings move is always a hot topic, and go. I mean, I like the Kings move. I mean, as long as you do the move within the rules, it's fine. I've been trying to, I feel like it's a good move to have. If you have a Kings move, it's it's something good to have. Another, I don't think it's the best lane, but I think it can cause a lot of problems for, quite a bit of people. Brian says, no problem, leaving pretty soon. Your recovery is my max day, so it's all good. All right. Someone's hitting PRs today. That's what it sounds like. The only thing, Carol, it's just a nice nick to the Dungeon Super Series. The only thing that's tricky with December is if we have it in December in the dungeon, it's gonna be cold because it's in a barn. There's a wood stove, but I mean, it gets to be like 50 degrees, maybe 60 if they really. I mean, but it's cold. It's cold. Carolyn says PR before leaving. PR before leaving, or else the door stays shut and you got to sleep there. You might miss work, but you got to hit a PR. Carolyn says, Nick, January and February are worse, way too cold. Yeah, definitely. That's a tricky thing. I mean, it doesn't really, it's not a problem for me, but I know I would think a lot of the fans would be possibly uncomfortable. But maybe not. Maybe, that's part of the atmosphere. The old barn, you know. Um, Brian Jones says a lot of bodies there might make it not so bad. Oh, that's true. Everyone could just huddle together. That's a great idea. Um, that's a great idea, and also might cause some problems because there's a couple people on the team that are very handsy, and they might see an opportunity in there. But that's what, take the good with the bad. Kalen says, yes, bring their jump rope and lift chains. Stay warm. That'll definitely do it. Brian Jones says, we're already holding hands, so third base is right around the corner. I'll tell you what, Brian, I think we're playing different sports, but I see what you're saying. I definitely see what you're saying. Karen says, I like it. It is unique. Unique is definitely a good word to describe the dungeon. There's only one out there. Some people see it and say, oh man, this is the coolest place ever. And some people see it and they say, I don't even know what they say. But it's definitely an acquired taste. If you're used to super fancy, preppy stuff, like say if you're going to the gym and they're giving you towels and, all this other stuff, um, you might not like it, you know. Um, but I like it. I definitely like it. I like training there. Um, The only thing that's really missing right now is there's no. I'm the only super heavyweight in the whole entire state of Connecticut, and it's very lonely. It's very lonely. But good thing we got a car that is also a self-defense. Something can be used for self-defense. If you're just hopping on now, you can have scroll back a little bit, and you'll see what we're talking about. Self-defense car. But yeah, just gotta make a little road trip to pull with the supers. But I guess that's a good problem to have. That's a good problem I have, I guess. So let's see. Zan says, "Hi, what's up, man? If you like arm wrestling, you picked the right channel." Carolyn says, "Yes, who wants to smoke? Even Brad Grundy scared of your left, Nick." I appreciate that. I appreciate that. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. I definitely do. If when we have another Dungeon Super Series, I definitely do want to have another match. But we just gotta find something. We'll find something. So Zizan says, "Hello, brother. What's your name?" So my name is Nick, and I'm an arm wrestler. How about you? Carolyn says, "Josh, who is a good opponent for Nick? What about Sean Latimer?" I mean, I would pull Sean. The only thing is I don't know if he is 100% healthy right now. I know he had a lot of medical issues. I know he had like intestine taken out of his stomach. If I'm not mistaken. And it's been I think it's been about like 2 years at least since we've pulled. But I would definitely, if I was going to pull Sean, I would definitely want him to be healthy. Because I think if he's healthy, he'd be way stronger. But he did look good when he pulled Logan. Especially he got wheeled up to the table in a wheelchair. So he looked pretty good against Logan for everything considered. Well, if anyone speaks Egyptian, let me know what that says. So Carolyn says, "I'm excited when you take the match in the promoter event that you can't speak about." Yeah, it sounds I still can't speak about it, but it sounds like it's not gonna work out. But it's still time, but it sounds like it's not gonna work out. Kaylin says Nick sounds good. Well, Zizan might be a bot. But there's only one way to find out. Carolyn says the dungeon is the best way. with a muscle and a chain picture. Um, so that's good. You know, that's good. Dungeon is good. I like the dungeon. It's probably the only dungeon that's on a second story. You know, most dungeons are underground, but this one is airborne, second story. Um, Carolyn says James Clark has the great ideas also. He definitely does. I can't remember what his other idea was. We had a um, we had a chat with James, I think last week on a live. Um, yeah, you remember any of those good ideas James had, Carolyn? So it is. It's like 8:23. I think that's what it said on the phone. So I'll probably hang out for another 5-10 minutes. So any final questions? Let me know. Carolyn says, "Yeah, I must go back and make some gifts from the dungeon, throwing chairs out the dungeon, etc." Yeah, that was a fun day. That was a fun day. And nobody got hurt. Usually, someone gets messed up when the shenanigans starts happening. Um, last time someone, we threw a treadmill out the window. I think that's on there. Couches, chairs. Um, we might have to throw more chairs out because of people keep on sitting on them. People, you're not supposed to sit during training. You know, too many people sitting. You're not supposed to sit. I mean, unless you're doing like sit down arm wrestling, but there's too many people sitting. So we might have to throw more chairs out the window. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. Caitlin says, Nick, I don't. I'll rewatch James and yourself again and refresh my mind. Yeah, I'm going to have to do the same thing. I'm going to have to do the same thing. Caitlin says, Dungeon Shenanigans, LOL, Trendman out the window, damn. Those be great promo. Yeah, it was definitely good. I got to go back and um, find them on YouTube. I don't think I have. I don't think I have them saved in my phone anymore. I don't think. Carolyn says, Nick, you know they drive me nuts using benches, setting phones and drinks on them. If that happens, I always ask if I can use it. LOL. Yeah, it's tricky, especially in a public gym. Because you got people with different goals. You know what I mean? So it's tricky at a public gym. Like I haven't worked out in a public gym in at least 3 years, probably. Well, I take that back. I think I went with a couple training partners. They had like guest passes. I went there for a couple workouts. So besides that, it's been at least a couple years. But it's definitely different. You got people talking about you know their night at the bar or whatever, stuff like that. But definitely gotta get your own garage gym or something like that. Get a private gym, invite only gym. Definitely, it's a different atmosphere. Karen says, sounds good, Nick. Hashtag taking over. It's about time. Josh says, I'm back on phone with daughter. What did I miss? We talked about some stuff. Uh, some reason the only thing I remember is hitting John Cena with the car. Long story short, I'll probably hit him with the car if that comes to it. But Kaylin says, yes, it really is. I just train and superset, and they see me in like intensity, no rest, and they start lifting. Oh, that's what happens. You put the pressure on them, and they start training, and that's what happens. Kaylin says, Nick, I hear you. I just no motivation at home. I have a cage, but I am old time gym bro. Yeah, I could definitely understand that. It's like I don't know about you, but when I first started doing the garage gym, it was you kind of missed the ritual of driving to the gym. That took me a little bit to you know get unused to is the drive to the gym. Um, but if you have the stuff, it might be worth at least maybe trying 1 day a week. See, there's got to be some stuff that might be a benefit to you know in the gym. If you like supersets, you might be able to set up a big station in your home setup where you could just jump wherever, all over. Josh says, ah, yes, hitting people with cars. How could I forget? I tell you what, the only people that are allowed to forget are the people that got hit by cars. They'll probably forget a thing or two. So Sue's I Cat says, is this gym advertising? Question mark. I'll tell you what, there's two gyms in Connecticut I definitely say check out. One of them is the Labyrinth, which I'm going to be lifting in about very soon. The other one is the Dungeon. But those are the gyms I say check out in Connecticut if you're looking to get stronger, if you're looking to arm wrestler. Carolyn says, yes, Nick, and how you have your team at home too. 1 day a week, good idea. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, definitely. Hope it helps out. Definitely good training. Carolyn, Josh, both. I mean, Carolyn and Brian both laughing with Josh. Carolyn says, "Josh, what a hoot! He definitely is the old Hootie Josh for short." Uh, but the rooster's out. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, but he's out. Josh says, "Carolyn, our English spy." You gotta have at least one or two on your team. So Carolyn says, I'm ready for the dungeon and music player. We keep swaying. Stay warm. Bring mittens. That's a smart idea. Definitely bring gloves and maybe some nice thick wool socks or something because it definitely gets chilly in there in winter. I mean, if you're expecting it to be cold, it won't be that bad. But if you show up thinking it's going to be, a super fancy, you know, venue with, waiters walking around getting you, you know, appetizers, it might be a little rude awakening. And Carolyn says, how can we forget? Hashtag attack cats. The attack cats are getting big. They're getting big. Uh, for the winter. They're outside cats, so they need to bulk up for the winter. Plus, there's a lot of coyotes, so they need to bulk up to defend themselves against the coyotes. Carolyn says, wool socks, hashtag wool socks, hashtag mittens. I hate ballrooms. Yeah, sometimes sometimes it's hard to get super amped up in a fancy ballroom, because there's super expensive stuff everywhere that's breakable, big chandeliers, and they're usually way expensive. Well, depending on the ballroom, but they're usually a good chunk of change. Carolyn says East Coast, Beast Coast. We're used to dressing accordingly and makes it extra special and unique. Yeah, it definitely does. It's like I haven't seen that Game of Arms since before I was an arm. I actually watched that show before I was an arm wrestler, and I didn't think it was real when I watched it. I thought it was like, reality TV. I thought it was like, staged or whatever. But I remember they had I think it was in Pennsylvania, and they had everyone, they were in a warehouse, no heat, and everyone's wearing coats and stuff. So it kind of reminds me of that. Brian Jones says winter training in the labyrinth is like Rocky 4. It definitely is, because there is no heat in the labyrinth. There is zero heat, um, so it gets chilly. Here's a funny story about when I first started lifting in the labyrinth. So the first winter, I was trying to, I got a thermometer, but I got one of those old school thermometers with the mercury in them. Thermometer, went from like 110 to negative, 20. So I'm working out and I have the thing on there, and I'm actually freezing, but the thermometer says it's only 35 degrees. So I keep on telling myself it's not even that cold. It's only 35 degrees. You can't be that cold. So I do the workout and I have a cup of water. I get about halfway through halfway through the workout, and I go to drink the water, and the cup of water is frozen solid. And it was at that moment I realized that because it's an old school mercury thermometer, the fluid in the container can only condense so much, which at that point it was like 35 degrees. That's as far as the thermometer can condense with the old school thermometer, the mercury thermometer. Um, so I still have that thermometer somewhere in the garage. I keep it around because it's a funny story. If I find it, I like to bring it out in the winter and tell people it's only 35 degrees. It's not that bad. But it gets cold. Carolyn says, Nick Wright, the dungeon reminds me of the warehouse Game of Arms. So authentic and different. Definitely is. Carolyn says, wow, negative 20. I don't know if they might get that cold. Definitely zeros, maybe negative something, but it's definitely gets chilly. Hashtag Mercury. Only accurate between 40 degrees and 90. But let's see. Any final question, guys? I'm probably gonna hop off in like a minute or two, unless there's any final questions. Um, Before I go, I said in the beginning, but I'll say it again. Make sure you get the pay-per-view. 9 incredible matches on this channel under the memberships. Um, yeah, definitely recommend getting the pay-per-view. Josh says correct. Same with old T12 fluorescent lights. That's how I could tell if it was below freezing during my pre-flight. Lights would come on below 32 degrees. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's good to know. Carolyn says, great live. Thanks for the great tips, Nick. Hashtag pay-per-view on this channel under memberships. Thank you very much, Carolyn. I definitely agree with Carolyn. Get the pay-per-view. I was definitely impressed with how it came out. Josh says, do not compare Nick to Chase O. I don't know who Chase O is. Maybe it sounds like that's a good thing. And I don't know who that thing is or person. LOL. But I appreciate that. It sounds like you're sticking up for me. I appreciate that. That's a good friend right there. Or maybe you like the other guy and you don't want him compared to me. But I think you got my back, so I appreciate that. Let's see. What time is it? All right, yeah, it's 8:37. Josh T says Case O is a heavy set streamer. Well, heavy set. He must be. He must do a little arm wrestling. Maybe that's what the reference is. Maybe we're both arm wrestlers. You know what I mean? But either way, hopefully, that guy's doing all right. Hopefully he, hits the gym or something. Josh says no, eating and gaming. Well, at least he's probably having fun, I guess. Eating and gaming is fun stuff. And I don't know how if he's got like a super successful channel where he's making money from eating and gaming. That's good for him, maybe. Good for him, I guess, right? But Josh says massive following in like a year. Oh, good. So that's the secret. You just got to eat and play video games. You have to do it at the same time. Does that have to be at the same time? You have to eat while playing video games, or separately? Well, sure. Josh says sure. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Well, I think on that note, I think we'll end it on the high note. I do appreciate everyone watching. I appreciate everyone commenting. I had fun. Brian says Heavyset Streamer is a good name for a lifting channel. Actually, it is Heavyset Streamer. Josh says McBang later. All right, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.